Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world with me, Deepika, coming up in the next 1 hour. Prime Minister Narendra Modi arrives in Brasilia after attending the 17th BRICS summit in Rio de Janeiro to hold bilateral talks with President Lula on key areas of cooperation. BRICS leaders push for empowering the global south, reforms and responsible AI. Prime Minister Modi urges for lead by example approach, also says for India, climate justice is not an option, it is a moral duty. Donald Trump hosts Netanyahu at the White House as pressure mounts on Israeli Prime Minister to clinch Gaza ceasefire deal. Trump says Hamas wants to end the conflict amid latest rounds of talks in Doha. US President unveils first wave of steeper tariffs on over a dozen countries. Japan, South Korea hit with 25% tariffs. Negotiating deadline extended till the 1st of August. And rescuers race against the time to find missing as catastrophic flooding in Texas claims over 100 lives, 21 still missing. In sports, at least Jannik Sinner and Novak Djokovic survived spirited challenges by opponents before advancing to the Wimbledon quarter-final round. A very good morning to all the viewers joining us at this morning broadcast. To begin with the latest, Prime Minister Narendra Modi arrived in Brasilia after attending the BRICS summit in Rio de Janeiro. On arrival, Prime Minister Modi was warmly received by José Múzio, Minister of Defence of Brazil, at the airport. The welcome was made delightfully musical by the traditional Brazilian samba reggae performance. Prime Minister Narendra Modi is in Brasilia for his state visit to Brazil, where he will hold bilateral discussions with Brazilian President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva on the broadening of the strategic partnership between the two nations in areas of mutual interest, including trade, defense, energy, space, technology, agriculture, health and people-to-people linkages. Later, Prime Minister Narendra Modi was given a grand traditional welcome in Brasilia. Acharya Jonas Massetti and his associates recited the Shiv Tandav Stotram, while the indigenous people of Brazil's Amazon rainforest chanted local mantras. Taking to social media platform X, Prime Minister Modi said, and I quote, "The Indian community accorded a memorable welcome, once again highlighting how passionate our diaspora is and how connected they remain with their roots." Earlier, Prime Minister Narendra Modi addressed the session on environment, COP30 and global health at the BRICS summit in Rio. In his intervention, Prime Minister stressed on strengthening shared efforts to make planet healthier. He noted that for India, climate change and environmental protection have always been subject of the topmost priority. This has also been a part of our ancient culture. For India, climate change is not merely an issue of energy. It is about maintaining balance between life and nature. While India is driven by the spirit of people, planet and progress, India has launched numerous initiatives like Mission Life, Lifestyle for Environment, Ek Peड़ Maa Ke Naam, One Tree for Mother, and International Solar Alliance as well. And he also talked about Mission Life, Lifestyle for Environment. Further to this, the Coalition for Disaster Resilient Infrastructure, Green Hydrogen Mission, Ek Peड़ Maa Ke Naam, which is one tree for a mother, and also talked about Global Biofuels Alliance, International Big Cats Alliance. And despite being the world's fastest growing major economy, India was the first country to achieve its Paris commitments ahead of the schedule. Now, for India, climate justice is not an option, it is a moral duty. India believes that without technology transfer and affordable financing for countries in need, climate action will remain confined merely to climate talks. The health of people and planet is interconnected. COVID-19 pandemic taught us that viruses do not arrive with visas, nor are the solutions chosen based on the passports. Hence, we have to strengthen shared efforts to make our planet healthier, unquote. Prime Minister Narendra Modi met with the President of Uruguay, Yamandu Ortiz, on the sidelines of the BRICS summit in Brazil. The two leaders held discussions covering the full spectrum of bilateral relations. A key area of discussion was strengthening bilateral trade and investment. Both the sides expressed interest in the expansion of India-Mercosur Preferential Trade Agreement, aiming to unlock greater economic potential and trade complementaries. Prime Minister expressed gratitude to the President for strong condemnation of recent barbaric terrorist attack in Pahalgam and appreciated Uruguay's solidarity with India in the fight against terrorism in all its forms and manifestations. Prime Minister Narendra Modi also held a meeting with President of Bolivia, Luis Alberto Arce, in Rio de Janeiro on the sidelines of the 17th BRICS summit. The two leaders reviewed bilateral cooperation and expressed satisfaction with the progress achieved. They expressed satisfaction over the ongoing development cooperation between the two countries, including through quick impact projects and capacity building initiatives under the iTech Scholarship Program. Prime Minister Narendra Modi expressed solidarity with the people of Bolivia in the wake of the severe flooding that occurred in March-April 2025 in La Paz and several other parts of the country. He also congratulated Bolivia for joining International Solar Alliance. Prime Minister Narendra Modi also conveyed his best wishes on the historic occasion of Bolivia's 200 years of independence. Earlier, Prime Minister Narendra Modi addressed the inaugural session on reform of global governance and peace and security, as well as a session on strengthening multilateral economic, financial affairs and artificial intelligence at 17th BRICS summit in Rio de Janeiro. Prime Minister also underlined that terrorism was a grave threat facing humanity. Prime Minister also called for working towards responsible AI.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi addressed the inaugural session on reform of global governance and peace and security, as well as session on strengthening multilateral economic, financial affairs and artificial intelligence at the 17th BRICS summit in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. In his address at the inaugural session on reform of global governance and peace and security, Prime Minister Modi reaffirmed India's commitment to enhancing the voice of the Global South. PM Modi stated that global governance institutions such as UN Security Council, the International Monetary Fund, World Bank and the World Trade Organization must undergo urgent reform to reflect contemporary realities. Calling for strong global action against terrorism, Prime Minister Modi noted that those funding, promoting or providing safe havens to terrorists must be dealt with in the harshest terms.
Honorable Prime Minister underlined that terrorism was a grave threat facing humanity. In this context, he noted that all the leaders have condemned Pahalgam terrorist attack in strongest terms.
While in his address at the session on strengthening multilateral economic, financial affairs and artificial intelligence, Prime Minister Modi said that BRICS could play an important role in shaping a multipolar world. Prime Minister Modi offered 4 suggestions. First, BRICS New Development Bank must follow demand-driven principle and long-term sustainability for granting projects. 2. The group considers setting up a science and research repository which could benefit the global south countries. 3. Focus must be given to make the supply chain of critical minerals secured and resilient. And number 4, group should work on responsible AI while looking into the concerns of AI governance. It should also give equal importance to promoting innovation in the field. At the conclusion of the leaders' session, member countries adopted the Rio de Janeiro Declaration. The leaders in the declaration noted that we reiterate our support for a comprehensive reform of the United Nations, including its Security Council, with a view to making it more democratic, representative, effective, and efficient. We condemn in the strongest terms the terrorist attack in Jammu and Kashmir on 22nd April 2025, during which 26 people were killed and many more injured. We reaffirm our commitment to combating terrorism in all its forms and manifestations, including the cross border movement of terrorists, terrorism financing, and safe havens. We extend full support to India for its BRICS chairship in 2026 and holding the 18th BRICS Summit in India. On the sidelines of the 17th BRICS Summit in Rio de Janeiro, Prime Minister Modi also held bilateral meetings with various world leaders. PM Modi met the Prime Minister of Malaysia, Anwar bin Ibrahim. PM Modi thanked Prime Minister Ibrahim for his strong condemnation of the Pahalgam terror attack. Prime Minister Narendra Modi also met Cuba's President, Miguel Diaz-Canel Bermudez. The two leaders reviewed bilateral ties in the areas of economic cooperation, development partnership, fintech, capacity building, science and technology, disaster management, and healthcare. Besides this, Prime Minister Narendra Modi also met his Vietnamese counterpart Pham Minh Chinh on the sidelines of BRICS Summit in Brazil. Bureau Report, DD India.
India's Finance and Corporate Affairs Minister Nirmala Sitharaman participated in BRICS Finance Ministers and Central Bank Governors meeting held in Rio de Janeiro on Monday, where she underscored India's economic resilience and its commitment to inclusive multilateralism. During the high-level discussions, the Finance Minister highlighted India's robust economic performance, attributing it to strong domestic demand, sound macroeconomic management, and well-calibrated fiscal policies. Minister Sitharaman further said that India's policy response to trade and financial restrictions has focused on diversifying markets, promoting infrastructure-led growth, and implementing structural reforms aimed at boosting competitiveness and productivity. Time to take a short break, but still to come on the other side. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu nominates US President Donald Trump for Nobel Peace Prize. President Trump says the US would be sending more weapons to Kyiv to help it defend itself against Moscow attacks. And man killed after firing at US border patrol station. Welcome back after that short break. You're watching the India News Hour. Well, US President Donald Trump hosted Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu at the White House on Monday. Both the leaders discussed situation in the West Asia. Speaking to reporters at the beginning of a dinner between US and Israeli officials, Netanyahu said the US and Israel were working with other countries who would give Palestinians a better future. It suggested that the residents of Gaza could move to neighboring nations. On the other side, Israeli officials held indirect negotiations with Hamas aimed at securing a US-brokered Gaza ceasefire and hostage release deal. The proposal envisages a phased release of hostages, Israeli troop withdrawals from parts of Gaza, and discussions on ending the war entirely. Moving on to tensions with Iran, Trump said he would like to lift sanctions on Iran at some of the point. Trump said he also wanted to discuss with Netanyahu the prospect for a permanent deal with Iran.
One of the things we have with Iran is, we have they are very biting sanctions, and I would love to be able to, at the right time, take those sanctions off, give them a chance at rebuilding, because I'd like to see Iran build itself back up in a peaceful manner and not going around saying death to America, death to the USA, death to Israel, as they were doing.
Earlier, Netanyahu met the U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio and Trump's Middle East Special Envoy Steve Witkoff at the Playhouse. United States had scheduled talks with Tehran. U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff said the meeting would take place in the next week or so. Israeli officials also hope the outcome of the conflict with Iran will pave the way for normalization of relations with more of its neighbors such as Lebanon, Syria and Saudi Arabia. In an interview, Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian said he believes Iran can resolve its differences with the United States through dialogue, but trust would be an issue after the US and Israeli attacks on his country.
Once again, I would like to tell you that it is Israel that does not want such things to happen in the region. Israel does not want to see peace and tranquility in the region. But I would like to once again repeat that the United States President, Mr. Trump, he is capable enough to guide the region towards the peace and a brighter future and put Israel in its place, or get into a pit, an endless pit or a swamp. And that is a war that Netanyahu wants the United States or the U.S. president to be dragged into. So it is up to the United States president to choose which path that I told you about.
And what came as a surprise for Trump at the meeting with Netanyahu was Israeli leader's Nobel Peace Prize nomination for him. Netanyahu handed over the nomination letter to Donald Trump, saying it is well-deserved. Reacting on which Donald Trump thanked him and said, "Coming from you in particular, this is very meaningful." Well, Israel was working with the United States to find the countries who would give Palestinians a better future. Trump has received multiple Nobel Peace Prize nominations from supporters and loyal lawmakers over the years and has made no secret of his irritation at missing out on the prestigious award. Staying in the US has revoked the foreign terrorist organization designation for Al-Nusra Front, also known as Hayat Tahrir al-Sham or HTS, according to a State Department memo filed on Monday. Well, this is a major step as Washington moves to ease sanctions on Syria. The move comes a week after Trump signed an executive order terminating a U.S. sanctions program on Syria to help end the country's isolation from international financial system and building on Washington's pledge to help it rebuild after a devastating civil war. Expressing unhappiness over Russia-Ukraine conflict and especially with President Putin, President Trump said on Monday the United States would be sending more weapons to Kyiv to help it defend itself against Moscow attacks. Trump said the US would be sending primarily defensive weapons, mentioning nothing about Patriot missiles, of which he talked about on Friday.
We're going to send some more weapons. We have to. They have to be able to defend themselves. They're getting hit very hard now. They're getting hit very hard. We're going to have to send more weapons. Yeah, defensive weapons primarily, but they're getting hit very, very hard. It's very sad. So many people are dying in that mess.
After a call with Donald Trump on Friday, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said he had agreed to work on increasing Kyiv's capability to defend the sky. Both the leaders also discussed joint defense production, purchases and investments. Ukraine has been asking the Washington to send it more Patriot missiles and systems that it sees as key to defending its cities from intensifying Russian airstrikes. A 27-year-old Michigan man, Mosqueda, was shot dead by the U.S. Border Patrol agents after opening fire with an assault rifle on a U.S. Border Patrol station in the southern Texas city of McAllen on Monday. The McAllen Police Chief Victor Rodriguez said Mosqueda fired dozens of rounds at the facility's entrance early morning, prompting agents to return fire. As per the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, a McAllen police officer and a Border Patrol employee were injured in the shootout. Authorities later discovered more assault weapons and ammunition in Mosqueda's nearby Chevrolet that also had spray-painted writing on its table. The U.S. Army installed barbed wire along the top of the border wall with Mexico on Monday in an effort to reinforce security measures. Soldiers were seen deploying the wire near Ciudad Juarez across El Paso in Texas. The move follows a similar action in February when U.S. Marines reinforced steel columns of the border wall with barbed wire near Tijuana, near the California border. The Hope Border Institute criticized the barbed wire deployment, warning it endangers migrants and border communities and reflects a harsh immigration enforcement approach. The organization called for humane, lawful immigration processes, emphasizing safer, more affordable alternatives that uphold U.S. legal and humanitarian standards. Tom Homan, the administration's border czar, said on Monday that ICE would flood the zone in sanctuary cities to meet a goal of 7,000 detentions every day. Last month, U.S. immigration officials walked back limits on enforcement, targeting farms, restaurants, hotels, and food processing plants just days after putting restrictions in place. ICE officials were told a daily quota to make 3,000 arrests per day, 10 times the average last year during former President Joe Biden's administration, that would remain in effect. Speaking upon exiting the White House, Homan told reporters immigration efforts plan to double down and triple down on sanctuary cities, where he said officials are releasing public safety threats.
3,000 a day is too much. I want to remind them, do the math. We'd have to arrest 7,000 every single day for the remainder of this administration just to catch the ones Biden released the nation.
At least 22 people were injured on Monday when a fire erupted at a major telecommunications data center in Cairo, causing widespread communication disruptions throughout the capital. The fire caused phone and internet outages, with national connectivity dropping to 62%. The disruption also affected digital banking services, online transactions, and healthcare facilities. The Health Ministry said that there were some injuries due to smoke inhalation. The National Telecom Regulatory Authority announced the restoration of services in a few hours after the power cut in the building for safety. Smoke was visible over the Ramses district. State news agency reported that the fire was contained and an initial investigation pointed to an electrical short circuit as the likely cause. In a major move towards justice and remembrance, Chile's government has officially expropriated the land of Colonia Dignidad, a former German enclave notorious for child abuse and torture during the dictatorship of Augusto. Once led by German cult leader Paul Schaffey, the site became a prison for dissidents and a symbol of deep-seated human rights violation. The 117-hectare property will now be transformed into a memorial and education center. Officials say this step is part of Chile's broader efforts to reckon with its painful past and honor the victims. As Latin America has transitioned to democracy in recent decades, truth commissions and public displays documenting past abuses have become common in many countries, including Chile. Let's now take a look at other stories making news around the world in brief. The Royal Mint unveiled a commemorative coin celebrating 50 years of rock band Iron Maiden on Tuesday. The coin, designed by artist Albert Aquiran-Quirentes, features the band's infamous mascot Eddie in a dynamic pose that will strike a chord with fans worldwide. The design features numerous hidden Easter eggs referencing the band's career, albums, and the world tours. Grandmothers of Plaza de Mayo announced on Monday that it had restored the identity of its 140th grandchild. It is a human rights organization that has been searching for children kidnapped during Argentina's last military dictatorship for decades. The recovered grandson was born in the year 1977 in the clandestine detention center in Buenos Aires province after his parents were kidnapped in December 1976. A team of forensic archaeologists and crime scene experts will begin excavating remains of 800 infants at Irish Church home next week. A decade ago, an investigation began after a local historian found an unmarked mass grave at a Catholic-run home in Galway. Experts from Colombia, Spain, Britain, Canada, Australia and the US have joined Irish specialists for the excavation. Memorial service was held for victims of the 7/7 bombing on the 20th anniversary on Monday. It took place on the 7th of July. Hundreds, including current and former British politicians, gathered at London's St. Paul's Cathedral for the ceremony. On the 7th of July, back in the year 2005, 4 British Muslims detonated bombs on London's train and a bus during the rush hour. Time to take a short break, but still to come on the other side. Up next, we'll get you more details on why India abstained from UN resolution on Afghanistan. June recorded hottest ever in 12 countries and was exceptionally warm in 26 other countries. And after the break, we'll get you the latest weather predictions from across India as well.
The atmosphere of the yatra. So many people come from each part of India and it's like everybody, we're in the same community. No difference between people and it's wonderful. We go all together for the same goal, to see the cave, to feel the atmosphere of the cave.
Welcome to Manipur, a state that's waiting to enchant you with the jewels of nature, where the love of art and beauty is inherent in people. Full of trailblazing milestones. And heroes that scripted history. Its mystical charm will leave an impression for a lifetime. Come, savor the jewel land of Manipur.
The atmosphere of the yatra. So many people come from each part of India and it's like everybody, we're in the same community. No difference between people and it's wonderful. We go all together for the same goal, to see the cave, to feel the atmosphere of the cave.
Welcome back after that short break. You're watching DD India News Hour. Now let's quickly recap the top headlines of the hour. Prime Minister Narendra Modi arrives in Brasilia after attending 17th BRICS Summit in Rio to hold bilateral talks with President Lula on key areas of cooperation. BRICS leaders push for empowering the Global South, reforms and responsible AI. Prime Minister Modi urges for lead by example approach. Also says for India, climate justice is not an option, it's a moral duty. Donald Trump hosts Netanyahu at White House as pressure mounts on Israeli Prime Minister to clinch Gaza ceasefire deal. Trump says Hamas wants to end the conflict amid latest round of talks in Doha. US President unveils first wave of steeper tariffs on over a dozen countries. Japan and South Korea hit with 25% tariff. Negotiating deadline extended till the 1st of August. Rescuers race against time to find missing as catastrophic flooding in Texas claims over 100 lives, 21 still missing. And in sports, Italy's Yannick Sinner and Novak Djokovic survived spirited challenges by opponents before advancing to the Wimbledon quarterfinal round. Getting some aspects of the top story we are tracking at DD India News Hour right now. Prime Minister Narendra Modi is in Brasilia for his state visit to Brazil, where he will hold bilateral discussions with President Lula da Silva on the broadening of strategic partnership. DD India exclusively spoke to India's ambassador to Brazil, Dinesh Bhatia, on New Delhi's key priorities and the state of India-Brazil relationship. Take a listen.
As we continue our special coverage of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's five-nation visit, we are joined in by Ambassador Dinesh Bhatia, who is the Ambassador of India to Brazil. Thank you so much, sir, for talking to DD India. How do you think, where is the trajectory of the relationship between both the leaders, Prime Minister Modi and President Lula, considering this is Prime Minister Modi's fourth visit this time?
Well, between India and Brazil, and as a matter of fact, Brazil was the first country in Latin America where we opened our embassy in 1948. Brazil and India have always been close countries. They have been part of Global South. And since 2006, our bilateral relations were elevated to strategic partnership.
As you said, this is going to be a very important, much awaited bilateral that is going to happen. But having said that, both countries are agriculture powerhouses. As you said, there's going to be a cooperation. What kind of cooperation can we look forward to in terms of both the countries coming together? Food security, much more sustainable farming practices?
Yes, as I said, there is a discussion between ICAR and Embrapa of Brazil for concluding an agreement on agricultural research. Besides that, let's keep in mind that while the two countries are superpowers in their own right for agriculture and agriculture export, we are not competing with each other. So our trade basket, export basket is different from export basket of Brazil. So in that way, there is also a complementarity because Brazil has certain produces which we need, and there are certain produces of India which they need, of course. And that is being discussed.
One last question. Biofuels, one of the important sectors, mining, one of the important sectors, and as you also said, defense cooperation. Can you elaborate a little more on these three ripe sectors of cooperation?
Mining is very important. Brazil has abundance of critical minerals and rare earth minerals, and where India is looking for partnerships, and we are going to further discuss this during this visit. This is one sector where I think the potential is humongous, and we need to explore all of that. Oil and gas is another sector where we already have investments in Brazil, and we can also use Brazil's expertise in offshore oil and gas for doing something in India. Then you coming to defense cooperation, there is a discussion, and our public and private sector companies are talking about collaborations at the manufacturing level, at the export and import level. A lot of discussion is going on.
So here, as global attention shifts to Brazil with Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to the BRICS summit, as well as for this landmark bilateral that is going to happen between Prime Minister Narendra Modi and President Lula, we'll bring to you all the important updates, insights and exclusives from Brazil only for DD India. With camera person Jay Shankar and Piyush, this is Meghna Dev for DD India from Rio de Janeiro, Brazil.
A story that spans continents and cultures, a royal gift that changed the course of dairy farming across the country. DD India's Meghna Dev traces the legacy of Krishna, the bull that bridged two nations, India and Brazil.
Connects Bhavnagar in Gujarat to the distant land of Brazil. The Gir bull named Krishna was given to Brazil by the then Maharaja of Bhavnagar as a gift, which sowed seeds of white revolution, of dairy revolution in Latin America. What began as a royal gift in 1960 has now blossomed into a global partnership. In the land of Bhavnagar, Gujarat, a bull named Krishna embarked on a journey beyond borders 65 years ago. Gifted to Brazil in 1960 by the Maharaja of Bhavnagar to Celson Garcia Cid, a cattle baron, this bull was not just an animal but a symbol of India's cultural ethos. The bull belonging to the Gir breed is known for its resilience and spiritual significance, especially in the Vaishnavite tradition where cows are considered companions of Lord Krishna.
India gifted Gir and Kankrej, two breeds of cows, to Brazil, and since then Brazil has done tremendous development, tremendous scientific development to crossbreed and better these cows to produce more milk, and that is how we are talking about white revolution in Brazil.
It was the Maharaja of Bhavnagar, Maharaja Krishna Kumar Singh Ji Gohil, was very kind to gift the Gir cattle, precisely a Gir bull, to the Brazilian gentleman we very fondly remember as Celso Garcia Cid. And it is this relation that has helped us maintain a very, very good relationship with the people of Brazil till today. One gift from Bhavnagar has helped Brazil in a tremendous way in terms of the income that they've made from the dairy and how well they've utilized it.
Brazil has been a consistent admirer of Indian indigenous cattle breeds. Over the years, the country has developed one of the largest Gir cattle populations outside India, originally imported from Gujarat. These cows now play a key role in Brazil's dairy industry.
My grandfather bought some cows from Maharaja and very good bulls too. And he brought Krishna to Brazil, but unfortunately Krishna died in 1961. But he left a very good son called Krishna Sakina. Now we have thousands of descendants of Krishna Sakina. We thank India for this magnificent gift.
From Bhavnagar to Brazil, this was the journey of a bull named Krishna. The gesture was more than diplomacy. It's a living emblem of India's philosophy of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. The world is one family. Meghna Dev's report for DD India.
Moving on. India abstained from voting on the United Nations General Assembly resolution on the situation in Afghanistan on Monday, citing ongoing concerns about the use of country's territory by designated terrorist groups. The text titled "The Situation in Afghanistan" was adopted by a vote of 116 in favor to Israel and United States against, while 12 abstentions, including India. India's permanent representative to the United Nations, Ambassador Parvatineni Harish, noted that as business as usual approach without new and targeted initiatives is unlikely to deliver the outcomes the international community envisions for the Afghan people. He added that India is closely monitoring the security situation in Afghanistan.
India is closely monitoring the security situation in Afghanistan. The international community must direct its coordinated efforts towards ensuring that entities and individuals designated by the UN Security Council, the Al-Qaeda and their affiliates, ISIL and their affiliates, including Lashkar-e-Taiba and Jaish-e-Mohammed, along with their regional sponsors who facilitate their operations, no longer exploit Afghan territory for terrorist activities.
Moving on to weather update now. The death toll from catastrophic flooding in Texas rose to more than 100 on Monday as rescuers continued their grim search for people swept away by torrents of water. At least 27 of the victims were girls and counselors caught at a summer camp when floodwaters surged through the area over the 4th of July weekend, leaving little time to escape. The camp, located alongside a river, was overwhelmed in minutes. Forecasters warned that more rain could trigger additional flooding, with already saturated ground hampering recovery efforts. President Donald Trump is planning to visit Texas on Friday, the White House said, as it slammed critiques claiming his cuts to weather agencies had weakened the warning system. A donation center has been set up at Center Point High School, where volunteers are loading trucks with food, water and supplies for affected families. Locals have rallied together, donating everything. San Antonio holds candlelight vigil for victims of deadly Texas floods. Attendees observed moments of silence and listened to the prayers. Many held photographs of loved ones lost in flash floods. The Indian Meteorological Department issued orange alert for several states, including Uttarakhand, Punjab, Haryana, Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra, Chhattisgarh, Odisha and Telangana on Tuesday. The Weather Department predicted that these states may witness heavy rainfall in the coming days. Madhya Pradesh, Uttarakhand and East Rajasthan may receive rain until the 10th of July, while Vidarbha and Marathwada, Telangana and Gujarat could experience rainfall till the 9th of July. Continuous rain is predicted for the 6 to 7 days in Goa and the Ghat areas of Madhya Maharashtra, which is the central Maharashtra. Saurashtra and Kutch are expected to receive showers on the 12th and the 13th of July. Meanwhile, the Delhi NCR region is under a yellow alert and is likely to receive light to moderate rainfall on the 8th of July. As per the Weather Department, Monday's showers provided relief from the heat, with minimum temperatures expected to be 1 to 3 degrees Celsius below the normal, and maximum temperatures likely to remain between 2 and 4 degrees Celsius below the average category. Besides this, hot and humid weather conditions will prevail over Tamil Nadu, Puducherry and Karaikal till the 9th of July. Kolkata woke up to heavy rains on Monday morning amid IMD's yellow alert. And Taposh Bhattacharya joins us with the latest information. Good morning, Taposh. What is the latest prediction for IMD saying for Delhi specifically?
The fact that the IMD has reviewed its alert, and in fact they have said that for today they have actually moved it to orange alert for Delhi NCR as well as for nearby areas. There is a reasoning behind that. The monsoon trough that is currently going on is right over Delhi, and it is they believe that it is expected to have a major rainfall in the area. Yesterday, central Delhi and southwest Delhi had received bits and parts of the rainfall, but overall, it's still not. You still don't feel that it's a monsoon. So, in many ways, one expect that today and tomorrow there will be quite a bit of rainfall activity that will take place in the national capital. Having said that, as I mentioned, that it's an orange alert. Delhi, there's a warning that has also been issued for people in Delhi as well as for NCR region. The humidity is quite off the chart. It's almost over 90-95% per se, and we've been told that it is expected to remain the same. The rainfall activity is also the monsoon, because as I mentioned, the monsoon trough is right over Delhi. It's expected that the situation will remain like that till 12th of July. Okay. And the temperature is expected to hover near 32 to 35 degrees Celsius. And at the same time, we were told that this is one of the longest period of best air quality in Delhi. In fact, there's a 12-day, there's still 12 continuous day of satisfactory air quality that is currently going on. Last year, Delhi I saw more than 20 days of air quality in satisfactory air quality index on a trot. So far, it's already 12 days that has gone back. So Delhiites are actually keeping a sign of relief when it comes to breathing good air, and also the monsoon is expected to bring down the temperature in the national capital.
All right, thank you so much, Taposh, for joining us and bringing us the latest on Delhi weather condition. Moving on, the month of June was the hottest ever recorded in 12 countries and was exceptionally warm in 26 other countries. According to data from European monitor Copernicus, some 790 million people around Europe, Asia and Africa experienced their hottest month of June till date. For the residents of 26 other states, including Britain, China, France, Democratic Republic of Congo and Ethiopia, the month of June was the second hottest on record. In Europe, sweltering heat was recorded in Paris region in France and parts of Belgium and the Netherlands that are not used to such temperatures. In Asia Pacific, Japan also had its hottest June on record since 1898, with record temperatures of 1.2 degrees Celsius, higher than usual, logged in 14 cities during a heat wave condition. South Korea and North Korea followed similar heat wave. In East African country of South Sudan, temperatures passed the normal June average by 2.1 degrees Celsius, an exceptional deviation from the norm in a region of the world where temperatures tend to be more stable. Time to take a short break, but still to come on the other side. US stocks drop on Trump's tariff news while Asian shares edge higher as Trump left the door open for additional negotiations. Former world number 1 Deepika Kumari and Asian Games gold medalist Jyoti Venom to lead India's challenge at Archery World Cup. And after the break, we'll get you glimpses of the ancient city of Pinico, unearthed in Peru after 3,500 years.
Jharkhand will mesmerize you with majestic nature, rich heritage and colorful culture.
Hello. Johar. It fits perfectly.
Thank you.
Full workout हो गया.
Ready?
Postcards from Jharkhand on National Geographic.
Welcome back after that short break. You're watching DD India News Hour. Now let's get you all the latest from the world of business. US President Donald Trump reignited his trade war by threatening more than a dozen countries with higher tariffs on Monday. The US President renewed his threat of a 25% tax on products entering the country from Japan and South Korea and shared a batch of other letters to world leaders warning of levies from the 1st of August. Countries including Indonesia, Bangladesh, Thailand, South Africa and Malaysia were slapped with duties ranging from 25 to 40%. Trump warned of further escalation if there was retaliation against the levies.
The president will also sign an executive order today delaying the July 9th deadline to August 1st. So the reciprocal tariff rate or these new rates that will be provided in this correspondence to these foreign leaders will be going out the door within the next month, or deals will be made. And those countries continue to negotiate with the United States. We've seen a lot of positive developments in the right direction, but the administration, the president and his trade team want to cut the best deals for the American people.
Japanese Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba on Tuesday said that Japan would continue negotiations with the United States to seek a bilateral trade deal that benefits both the countries. While Tokyo and Washington have failed to reach an agreement so far, some progress has been made in talks that helped Japan avert a hike in US tariffs to around 30 to 35%, as suggested recently by Trump. Ishiba told a meeting with cabinet ministers to discuss Japan's strategy on the tariffs. While South Korea said it planned to intensify trade talks with the United States and consider President Trump's plan for a 25% tariff from the 1st of August as effectively extending a grace period on implementing reciprocal tariff. The East Asian nation also plans to use it as an opportunity to improve domestic systems and regulations to resolve the trade deficit that is a major interest of the United States and advance key industries through a manufacturing renaissance partnership between the two nations. The imposition of the 25% levy on US importers of all goods from key Asian allies, Japan and South Korea, rattled Wall Street, with the S&P 500 index suffering its biggest drop in 3 weeks. The S&P 500 closed down about 0.8%. US listed shares of Japanese automotive companies fell, with Toyota Motor closing down 4% and Honda Motor off by 3.9%. Asian shares meanwhile edged higher as Trump left the door open for additional negotiations after imposing new tariff rates on partner nations. Japan's Nikkei opened lower on Tuesday but then turned positive after Trump described the deadline as firm but not 100% firm and said tariffs may be adjusted for some countries. In South Korea, the benchmark Korea Composite Stock Price Index opened up 1.5%. The won and the yen gained slightly while the dollar tipped 0.2% after jumping the most in 3 weeks on Monday. And now let's get you all the latest action from the world of sports, to begin with tennis first. Yannick Sinner progressed to the Wimbledon quarterfinals after Grigor Dimitrov retired due to injury, while Novak Djokovic survived the scare. Sinner was staring at the exit door after trailing by 3-6, 5-7, 2-2 after Dimitrov crashed to the ground. He threw in the towel after a short assessment by a doctor. Sinner himself suffered a nasty fall in the opening game of the fourth round clash and suffered discomfort in his right elbow. The three-time Grand Slam champion is due to face American 10-seed Ben Shelton in the quarterfinal round. Djokovic endured a nightmare start to his match against Alex de Minaur but battled back to win 1-6, 6-4, 6-4, 6-4. 38 years old Djokovic aims to win a record 25th major title. Now that would make him the oldest Grand Slam singles champion in the Open era. In women's draw, Iga Swiatek continued her progress to the quarterfinals with a 6-4, 6-1 bout of Clara Tauson. Swiatek is a 5-time Grand Slam winner but has never made a Wimbledon semi-final. The 24 years old is in a strong position to win the tournament after the exit of many top seeds. Russian 7-seed Mira Andreeva reached the Wimbledon quarterfinals for the first time with a 6-2, 6-3 victory against American 10-seed Emma Navarro. 18 years old Andreeva next placed Swiss former Olympic champion Belinda Bencic. On to archery now. Former world number 1 Deepika Kumari and Asian Games gold medalist Jyoti Venom will spearhead India's challenge at the Archery World Cup Stage 4 that gets underway in Spain on Tuesday. The tournament will host 336 archers from 49 countries in Madrid from the 8th till the 13th of July, with the last few spots for World Cup final in China up for grabs. India has sent a 16-member squad to the Spanish capital, headlined by Deepika, who will eye a podium finish to add to her remarkable 37 Archery World Cup medal. Meanwhile, Jyoti will lead the women's compound team. The men's recurve lineup also features Dheeraj Bomadevara, as India is looking forward to build momentum heading into the World Cup final, which is scheduled in the month of October. In cricket, South Africa's stand-in captain Wiaan Mulder scored the 5th highest Test score of 365 not out against Zimbabwe, but then declared his side's innings despite being only 34 runs away from the record for the most runs in a Test innings. Mulder declared South Africa's innings at 626 runs for the loss of 5 wickets at lunch on the second day of the second Test in Bulawayo. With plenty of time still left in the match, it was expected he would bat into the second session to chase down Brian Lara's record of 400 not out, but Wiaan turned down the chance. It put him 5th in the all-time list, ahead of the likes of Gary Sobers and Donald Bradman. In reply, Zimbabwe was all out for 170 runs in the first innings, and in the second, they were reduced to 51 for the loss of 1 wicket. Fluminense relished their role as the Club World Cup underdogs ahead of semi-final against Chelsea in New Jersey on Tuesday. Manager Veneto has led the Brazilian side to an improbable run. The club arrived in the United States with just a 0.5% chance of winning the title and were initially tripped to exit in the group stage. The charismatic 62 years old Veneto has transformed the club from relegation battlers to giant killers in 3 months. They knocked out Champions League runners-up Inter Milan in the last 16 and Al Hilal in the quarterfinal round. On the other hand, Chelsea are favourites to win the clash and will try to reach a second major final in 3 months. They have looked like one of the fresher European sides in this tournament. Perhaps that reflects the benefits of having a youthful core without a single player aged above 27. Chelsea will miss striker Liam Delap and defender Levi Colwill to yellow card suspensions, while Fluminense defender Joan Freitas and midfielder Martinelli are also serving one-match ban. Moving on. An ancient city of Peru named Pinico, dating back nearly 3,500 years, has been uncovered by the archaeologists. Located about 200 kilometers north of the Peruvian capital, Lima, the site is thought to have been founded between 1800 and 1500 BC, around the same time that early civilizations were flourishing in the Middle East and Asia. Penico is situated near Caril, and researchers say this discovery sheds light on what became of the America's oldest known civilization. And that's all for this edition of DD India News Hour, but do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download it right now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Deepika, and from all of us here in New Delhi, thank you so much for watching DD India News Hour. Namaskar.